अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रये। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। सर्वेभ्यो नमः। सर्वेषां कृते स्वागतम्. So I was talking about this ancient Indian narrative of two women. So once upon a time, there's this saintly person to whom these two women come, and each of them claim a particular baby as their own baby. The baby is also brought there, and there is a dispute between the women because each of them say that this baby is my baby, and they want the sadhu to resolve. The public comes to them saying that please resolve this for us. Whose baby is it? The sadhu questions both of them, and both of them with equal conviction say that this is my child, it was born to me. The other woman has forcibly taken it away, or is trying to take it away from me. Now the sadhu has to decide using his intelligence whose baby it is. The sadhu does a very simple exercise. He tells them that, okay, I will see, let God decide for us whose it is. So now both of you stand on two sides of this line. We'll keep the baby in the middle. One of you will hold the hands of the baby, the other person will hold the legs of the baby, and both of you will pull the baby towards yourself. Whichever mother the baby belongs to, that mother will win, and the baby will get pulled to that mother's side by God's arrangement. So both of you now stand here and pull the baby with all your strength, and let us see on which side the baby goes to. Immediately, the first woman says, yes, sir, this is a very good idea. We will do it immediately. I will do, and I will show you that this is my child. The second woman, she reacts and she says, no, 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 sir. Let the baby be taken by her. It will hurt the baby. The baby will die if we do this. Let the baby live happily with her. I'm okay. So when he hears that, the sadhu, it's very clear to him. He says, it's very clear now whom the baby belongs to. Obviously, the second woman is the one who is the mother because she can understand the pain that the baby is feeling. The first woman is only trying to make a profit out of something that is not rightfully hers. So a mother naturally feels for her baby. It is natural love that even if the baby doesn't come to her, she is willing to sacrifice everything for the baby's happiness. Right? That is the meaning of motherly love, or more broadly, parental love for a child. Unfortunately, that is not the same throughout. And, even a few days back, we heard a story, or it's trending in the news now, of a woman who has killed her child, a 4-year-old son, simply because the court decided that the husband will also have custody of the child. The husband has access to the child, the husband can be given access to the child, and the court pronounced this verdict. The woman, having a very distressed relationship with her own husband, having divorced him, does not want that baby to go to the husband. So she killed the baby. Can you believe this? He smothered the baby, intoxicated him, and just killed him. A 4-year-old child, not even a small baby, but a 4-year-old. So this age is called the Kali-yuga. This is called Kali-yuga, in which we live, where people, they completely lose their sense of being a human being out of greed. Even in the last class, we heard about how a great sage He became a sage from a king by overcoming his anger. He had the intelligence to realize that there was something obstructing him from becoming what he wanted to become. He wanted to become a Brahmana. But he found that every time he tried, he was failing, and eventually realized that his own anger, his material desire, which eventually led to anger, was the cause of that failure. And he worked hard and he overcame that anger. But in this Kali-yuga, we don't have that intelligence. Most people, they only struggle. So the Bhagavatam says, there's a very nice shloka in the Bhagavatam which describes the people of the Kali-yuga. It says, Prayena alpayusha sabhya kalau asmin yuge janaha mandaha sumanda matayo mandabhagya hupadritaha. So right in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th shloka, not 0, 1.1.10 it should be. Prayena alpayushaha. People in the Kali Yuga are mostly very short-lived. All these qualities are, generally speaking, maybe there are some exceptions, not that every single individual is like this. There are certain exceptions. There are very saintly people also in the Kali Yuga. But prayena means mostly. Kalau, asmin kalau means in this Kali Yuga, asmin yuge, janaha, mandaha. Mandaha means a lazy person who tries to, who doesn't have the inspiration to work. A lazy person is a person who lacks inspiration to do what they are supposed to do. Sumanda matayaha, person whose intelligence or intellectual ability is very low, very dull. Sumanda matayaha. Mandabhagyaha, less fortunate, means miseries keep coming. Lot of papa karma. Less fortunate means a person who's accumulated papa karma is high. So papa keeps coming in some form or the other. Even if somebody has got a lot of wealth, they are not free from suffering. You'll see money is there, but still suffering is also there. Disease is there. Rich people, you see them sometimes dying young, having divorces in their own family. So much news we get, committing suicide. Okay, so mandabhagyaha, very low fortune. Upadritaha, always troubled, always under trouble in the Kali Yuga. There's no peace. And that is why the Bhagavatam was written by Sri Vedavyasji. So as it goes in the Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, Vedavyasji says, Sakadachit saraswatya upasprishya jalam shuchihi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale. Once upon a time, says Vedavyasji, the Rishi, the Maharshi Vedavyasji, he was sitting on the bank of river Saraswati near his ashram. His ashram was on the bank of Saraswati. So he was sitting on the bank of the river. And after touching the water for purification, he was sitting alone early in the morning. Okay, you can imagine the scene, very quiet, very peaceful, clean, very tranquil. So much, attractive that we would like to be there when we hear about it. Okay, so he was sitting in such a place and he was contemplating. So what was he thinking about? So it is said that he was thinking about how over time everything deteriorates. Just like, at that point of time, Sri Bhagavan had just completed his Leela. This is the beginning of the Kali Yuga or the end of the Dwapara Yuga. So towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga, the Mahabharata was over. The events of the Mahabharata had got over. And Kali Yuga was just beginning or had just begun. Sri Bhagavan had left this abode, left this earth and gone to his abode. And it is said that at that point, the Kali Yuga started, when he left this earth and went back or disappeared from our vision. So he was thinking how, Dharma, Sri Bhagavan comes, he establishes Dharma and tries to bring about goodness in this world. But by force of time, things become worse, things become bad. So he was contemplating on this and he thought, for the benefit of society, for the benefit of people, that is why I have appeared. He's also actually considered as Krishna himself. He's an Amsha of Krishna, Amsha avatar of Bhagavan. So I have come here, my purpose is to write down and make available all the knowledge that is present eternally. So what did he do after thinking like that? Then Sri Vyasadeva, he He's called Vyasa. The name Vyasa comes to him. He's called Vedavyasa because Vedaha Vyastaha Yenasaha. Vyastam means Vibhagaha Krita. He created Vibhaga, divisions of the Veda. So earlier to that, Veda was just known as Veda, one thing, knowledge, body of knowledge in the form of Shruti, transferred from guru to disciple through recitation. The guru recites, the disciple hears, and the disciple then absorbs it. Okay, so again and again, when the guru repeats and the disciple hears it, not only the disciple memorizes it, but also understands the meaning of that. Okay, that is the intelligence people had earlier. But in Kali-yuga, that is not there. So it will be lost if we depend on that process. So what does Vedavyasa do? His name is Krishna Dvaipayam. So he writes down the Veda. He puts it down in paper and divides it into 4 parts. Rig Veda, and he makes Paila Rishi. There's a rishi called Paila Rishi. He's in charge of the Rig Veda, one of his disciples. The second portion is called Samaveda. Jaimini. Jaimini Rishi is made charge of Samaveda. Yajurveda, the third portion. Vaishampayana Rishi, another disciple of Vyasa. So he's made in charge of that. Sumantu Maharishi, he is made charge of Atharva Veda. And finally, Vedavyasa writes down the Mahabharata also. The full Mahabharata is written down because after writing down the Veda, after compiling the Veda, he realizes that the knowledge given in the Veda, although now it is put down on paper, it's available in written explicit form, still most people in the Kali-yuga will find this difficult to understand. Even the great scholars will not be able to easily understand this because intelligence goes down as Kali-yuga progresses. And therefore, let me make this more easily available. The same knowledge what the Veda is trying to give us, let me make it more easily available. So he writes the entire Mahabharata, whatever had just happened in the form of the events of Mahabharata, he puts them down in a whole volume. It's considered that it's said that the Mahabharata actually is huge, very, very voluminous. And the original form is in Swarga. It's huge. But a condensed version of that original form is 100,000 shlokas. That condensed version is available to us today. That's available. Gita Press volume is there. I have a soft copy also. So he brings it down to earth in that form and he makes it available to us. Now, having done that, he makes Romaharshana Rishi. Romaharshana is Romaharshana. His name is Romaharshana. He's another Rishi, the 5th one. So he makes him in charge of the Itihasas and the Puranas. Just like the Mahabharata, he compiles several Puranas. At that point of time, when he was thinking like this, there were 17 Puranas available. Okay, like the Skanda Puran, the Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Puran was written by his father, compiled by his father, Parashara Muni. And then the Padma Puran, and so on. Several Puranas, 17 Puranas are available. So he makes Romaharshana in charge of this. So having done all that, he then reflects on what he has done, on the contributions that he has made. That's his contribution, right? Intellectual contribution. So as he reflects on this, sitting in his ashram, something in his heart is not okay. He feels a vacuum in his heart. He feels that something is missing. I don't know, I've done all this, but I feel that something is lacking. And as he is thinking, he's contemplating on why am I feeling like this? Sometimes it happens to us also, no? We have done something, but there is something we feel is not fully okay with it. So even after having done so much, he feels something is not okay with what I have done. And this is his reflection. He says, Kim va bhagavata dharmaha na prayena nirupitaha priyah paramahamsanam ta eva hyachyuta priyaha. So he makes a guess. He thinks, most probably this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. Because in whatever I have described, I have not described Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma means the Dharma which describes bhakti to Bhagavan, Bhagavan's real nature, Bhagavan's, his qualities, his activities, his sweetness, and bhakti to him. This has not actually been brought out in all the writing I have done. So much I have compiled, but it doesn't carry that. It is something that is so dear. Priyaha Paramahamsanam, the greatest of the munis, they like that. And it's also very dear to Achyuta, to Krishna. But I have not brought that out. I think that is the reason I'm feeling this way. So as he contemplates like this, what happens? Tasyaivam khilamatmanam manyamanasya kidhyatah krishnasya narado bhyagat ashramam pragudahritam. As he is thinking this way, suddenly there appears the great sage Narada. Narada also is the guru of Sri Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a disciple of Narada. So the guru suddenly appears in front of the disciple. Tamabhijnaya sahasa pratyuthaya gatam munihi pujayamasa vidhivat naradam surapujitam. So what would a disciple do if the guru suddenly appears? So he gets up, immediately he gets up from where he is sitting. Sahasa means suddenly Narada has manifested himself. So he gets up, offers him his obeisances, dandavat pranam, and vidhivat means according to the procedure of how one should worship one's guru. Okay, Surapujitam means it's not only an ordinary guru, he is a guru who is worshipped by the devas also. Even the Swargaloka devas, they look forward to worshipping Narada. He's such a great personality. So they worship him, and now Shri Vyasadeva worships Narada. So having worshipped him, he offers him a seat. So he sits down, and then Narada questions him. He says, "Oh, great Rishi, you have done so much work, but I can see that there is something in you which indicates that you are not fully happy. There seems to be a void in your heart. There's a vacuum, and I can see it. Why is it happening? Why are you feeling this way? Please tell me." So Vyasa immediately acknowledges. He says, "Yes, Muni, I fully I sync with you. I understand that you can also make it out. But I don't know. I'm not able to resolve it. Can you please tell me? You are very knowledgeable. You are my guru. Please tell me, why am I feeling this way and what should I do now?" So then Sri Narada confirms what Sri Vyasadeva was thinking. He says that in all that you have done, you have not actually brought out the real glories of Sri Bhagavan, the real nature of Sri Bhagavan, whom we all ought to know. Knowing about him, knowing about his activities, becoming attached to him, doing his seva, understanding his mentality and developing that mentality within ourselves is the means to resolve all the problems that living beings have. But you have given so much knowledge. The knowledge that you have given is samanya dharma. It is predominantly dharma which tells people how to be happy in this samsara. It gives dharma, but it's dharma about how to be happy in this samsara, but not how to get eternal happiness, which is the real happiness of the jivatma. That you have not brought out. So there Sri Narada speaks, and this is in the 5th chapter of the first skanda, Prathama skanda of Bhagavatam. He speaks some very, very impactful shlokas. He says, "Na yadvachaschitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragranita karhichit tad vayasam tirtha mushanti manasaha na yatra hamsa niramanti ushikshayaha." Every shloka that he speaks is very impactful. He speaks in a very critical tone. He says that, you see, the real knowledge about Sri Bhagavan is such that any scripture which does not describe such glories of Bhagavan, the qualities of Bhagavan and so on, it is just like a place of pilgrimage for the crows. He says that Vayasam. Vayasam means crow. Vayasa. So Vayasam Tirtham, the place of pilgrimage for the crow. What does it mean? Garbage place. The place where garbage is thrown. That's where crows go, no? Crows don't go to Haridwar or Vrindavan or Puri or something. They'll go wherever there is garbage. You throw some, a dead rat is there, that will become the place where all the crows will start cawing, right? One crow finds it, it starts calling out, then all the crows come, they make a big halla, and then they all share that dead rat between themselves. That is their prasadam, right? So he says, any literature, any dharma you describe, if it is not actually, uh, you know, bringing out the real nature of Bhagavan, the sweetness of Bhagavan, then it is just like that. It's just like a place of pilgrimage for the crows. It's like a garbage. It's like a place of garbage. And he says, Manasaha, the real Manasas, the people who are actually experiencing true pleasure inside themselves, they're called Manasa, means in their own self, they're experiencing that happiness. Na yatra hamsaha niramanti. So here it's a Shlesha Alankara, means there are two meanings simultaneously brought out. The word Hamsa is used for the swan, and it's also used for the Paramahamsa. The sannyasis are called Paramahamsas, the people who are very pure. Ushikshayaha. Uh, Ushikshayaha means a place. Ushik refers to Vaikunta, or the eternal abode, which is desired by the Hamsas, the Paramahamsas, the great saints. They desire to go to that abode of Bhagavan, that pure place. So they reside in that place in the sense they have achieved that. They have already relishing that. So such people, they will not like this kind of dharma that you have described now. All that you have described in all these scriptures that you have written, you have brought out all this, they will not really relish this. So you have not really brought out what they will relish. Okay, so he's using very strong language here. Then he says, Tadvag visargo janathaga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhaddhavatyapi namani anantasya yashom kitani yat shrinvanti gayanti ghrunanti sadhavaha. So he says, on the other hand, in contrast, that literary creation, Vag Visargaha means literary creation, Janataga Viplavaha, which can destroy all the sins and the sinful tendencies, completely destroy of the public, of the people, even if Prati Shlokam Abhaddhavatyapi, in every shloka there is some grammatical mistake. It is not grammatically perfect, compositionally perfect. There may be some mistakes here and there. Even then, if that literature, that literary creation, if it is dotted, Yashaha Ankitani Namani, it has the names of Sri Bhagavan and his praises, the praises of Bhagavan, his qualities, his leelas, they are brought out nicely in that. Then Sadhavaha, the saintly people, will love to Shrinvanti, listen to it, Gayanti, to sing it, recite it, and Grinanti means praise it, talk about it. They would like to sing it, they would like to talk about it, praise it. That literature is what you should create. So he says that he's contrasting two types of writing. He says one is where you talk about Samanya Dharma, how to enjoy this material world. The other is real happiness, which lies in absorbing oneself in Bhagavan, understanding him, understanding his beauty, his sweetness, and his seva, developing that seva bhav. That literature you have not created. And even if such literature you create imperfectly, even with mistakes, if it is there, with some grammatical mistakes, compositional mistakes, the saintly, real saintly people will like that literature and they will spend time with it. So then he says, Navai jano jatu kachantana vrajet kathanchana vrajet mukunda sevyanya vadanga sansritim smaran mukundang rupaguhanam punaha vihatumicchenna rasagraho janaha. So he says that essentially, you see, any person who has tasted the sweetness of Bhagavan, sweetness of the lotus-like feet of Bhagavan, okay, anybody who has tasted this even once will not leave it, will not leave it. So such a person, once he has tasted that, tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Bhagavan, then he will never go into samsara. He says, Kathanchana na vai janah, na means never, such janah jatu kathanchana, never at any time, avrajet, Mukunda Sevi, such person who is a Sevi of Mukunda, Anyavat, like the other people who are not Sevis of Mukunda, Samsritim. Samsritim avrajet. Samsritim means samsara. Another word for samsara, samsritihi. Samsara means this material existence. So such a person who has tasted the sweetness of the feet of Mukunda and his seva will not ever fall into samsara. It means that even if there is, for example, sometimes a break in his seva because of his own past karma, whatever, his own tendencies, which have not yet died out completely. Because he has tasted the seva of Mukunda at some point of time, he will come back to it. Immediately he will come back. He will never fall into samsara again. So in this manner, she keeps talking about the shortcomings in what Vyasadeva has done. He's done so much work, which is good work. He has described dharma and everything. But that is why he is unhappy, because he is not described Sri Bhagavan. What should be done? The real substance has not yet come in his writing. So he talks about it, and Sri Narada, in the course of telling all this, he also narrates his own experience in order to sort of convince Sri Vyasa and convince the readers like us. Sri Vyasadeva, of course, is a realized person. He's Bhagavan himself. So he already knows this. But eventually, to convince us through him, Sri Narada narrates his own previous life when he was the son of a Shudra. That's elaborately described here in this chapter, in the 5th chapter. And after that, he goes forward to say, Tvamapyadhabhrashruta vishrutam viboho samapyate yena vidam bhubupsitam prakyahi dukkhair muhurarditatmanam sanklesha nirvana mushanti nanyatha. He concludes the end of the 5th chapter. This is the last shloka of the 5th chapter of the first Prathama Skandha of Bhagavatam. He says, okay, now I have told you all this, and now I'm telling you what you should do going forward. He's giving his instruction to his disciple. He says, what you should do, he says, Adabhrashruta means one who has heard everything, one who knows everything. He's addressing Vyasa like that. Adabhrashruta means one who has a vast exposure to this knowledge. Adabhrashruta. Vibhoho vishrutam yena vidam bhubupsitam samapyate. Vidam means of the learned people. Bhubupsa. The word bhubupsa means what do they desire to know? Bhubupsa means gyatumicha. The desire to know or desire to be known, that which is desired to be known. Okay, in simple language, the desire to know something is called bhubupsa. So vidam bhubupsitam means that which the learned, the most learned people still desire to know, that desire, yena samapyate. You create something by which that desire to know will get satisfied. Yena samapyate means it will achieve its completion. Now they are still hankering to know more, and you haven't satisfied that. It says prakyahi, make it known. Then what will happen if you do that? Dukkaihi, muhur atmanam, by lot of pain. Muhuhu atmanam means again and again their minds, their hearts are disturbed. Ardita means disturbed. Atmanam means of those people whose minds and hearts are continuously disturbed by various dukkhas, dukkaihi. Sanklesha nirvanam, they will get freedom from all their miseries, sankleshas. Ushanti nanyatha, there is no other way. There is no other way than to listen to the leelas of Sri Bhagavan, to know about Bhagavan, his bhakti and so on. So create that literature which will be of this type, which will satisfy this condition. Create that literature which will resolve all the problems of people. Okay, with this instruction, he goes away, and that is how Sri Mad-Bhagavatam was written. After this instruction was received by Vyasa, so initially he begins with a doubt that maybe this is the reason why I'm feeling this vacuum. And when he has that doubt, his guru appears in front of him and confirms to him that yes, what you're thinking is right. And this is the reason, to give you conviction. I speak all these things. Sri Narada Muni speaks all that, and then Vyasdeva is now convinced, and he writes the Bhagavatam. So in the Bhagavatam, this comes in the 5th chapter, this narration. Sri Vyasdeva begins the Bhagavatam by offering his prayers, and then these shlokas are spoken by Suta. Suta is the son of Romaharshana Rishi, the 5th Acharya. So he speaks to the rishis gathered in Naimisharanya forest, right? And through them, Sri Vyasdeva describes why he wrote the Bhagavatam. Why he wrote the Bhagavatam. It's just like when you write your thesis or you write a paper, right? When you write a paper, you have to first, in the introduction section, explain the motivation. Why are you writing this paper? Why are you addressing those questions. What are the questions you're addressing? What is the objective of this paper? What are you trying to communicate, and why should it be written? Right? Motivation. That's called the motivation for the study or the motivation for the paper. So the first 5 chapters of Bhagavatam constitute the motivation for Bhagavatam, why he wrote the Bhagavatam. Okay, and through the Bhagavatam, he explains in many other places. In the second chapter also, he explains how by reading the Bhagavatam, by studying the Bhagavatam, hearing the Bhagavatam every single day, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So by listening to the Bhagavatam on a daily basis, all are the impurities in our heart, the disturbing elements. When you say impurities, we mean what is disturbing us, what is causing anxieties to us, what brings about stress, what brings about confusion, what creates the feeling that something is going wrong, I don't know what to do next, something is troubling us. All those troubles get resolved. The answers come from inside. And eventually, there's a lot of clarity, and we know what is the path to take. So, this is the Bhagavatam, and we were actually reviewing the Bhagavad-Gita. In the Gita, in the 6th chapter, after talking about, the first 6 chapters are talking about basically the Jivatma being different from the body, and how the Jivatma should come out of this samsara for his real happiness. Controlling the mind is so important. To become a Sthita Prajna is important on the path of yoga. One should withdraw their senses. One should overcome kama. Kama and krodha are 2 names of the same thing, etc., etc. So much of this knowledge is given. But at the end of it all, it concludes, the 6th chapter concludes with the shloka, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Amongst all the yogis, madgatena antaratmana, the one who has gone inside me, antaratmana matkatenam, who has entered into me, within himself he has entered into me, Shraddhavan, with Shraddha, and he is engaged in my seva, bhajate, Shraddhavan bhajate, with Shraddha he is engaged in my seva, same yuktatamo mata, he is considered the greatest among the yogis by me. This is my opinion, Sri Bhagavan says. This is the conclusion of the 6th chapter. And Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that this is the sutra for the next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So with that shloka, he sort of initiates the discussion on the next 6 shlokas, 6 chapters, which are about bhakti. So going forward in the 7th chapter, Sri Bhagavan says, Bahunam janmanamante, Bahunam janmanamante, Jnanavan mam prapadyate, Vasudevas sarvamiti, Samahatma sudhurlabha. After many, many births of searching for happiness. Okay, in the human life, we think about happiness. In animal life, it's just instinct, right? Animals live by instinct. Where there is food, they will run. If they see an opportunity for sexual pleasure, they will go in that direction, right? They don't think. There is no much analysis. There is no reflection, thoughtfulness, analysis. They are not endowed with that ability. The same Jivatma in that body, the same Jivatma which is we, is also there in that body. But in that body, the Jivatma doesn't have that freedom because of its karma. It is forced to act only by instinct, lives by instinct and dies by instinct. But we as human beings are given that ability to reflect and think, where is happiness? Is this really our happiness? Or is that something else? Am I missing out something? Am I making a mistake? Should I reconsider what I did? This kind of reflection, introspection, going inside ourselves, correcting ourselves, willingness to change. This is possible only in the human birth. So after many, many births of doing this, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan, one who has got the real knowledge. Earlier, just 2 shlokas before, in the 17th shloka, in the 17th shloka, Sri Bhagavan had said, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta, Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam, 16th shloka of the 7th chapter. 4 types of people, they do my seva. Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam, Jana Sukritino Arjuna, Arto Jigyasurartharthi, Jnani cha Bharatarshaba. A person who is in distress, the person who is looking for material wealth, the person who is inquisitive, and the person who is a jnani. Now, what is meant by that jnani? Jnani is not a person who just has some dry theoretical knowledge, because in the next shloka, in the 17th shloka, Tesham jnani nitya yukta, eka bhaktir vishishyate, he says, The Jnani is a person. By word Jnani, what I mean is the person who is in Eka Bhakti, means he only does bhakti. Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. Priyo hi Jnaninaha Atyarthamaham. I am very dear to that Jnani, and such a Mama Priyaha. He is also very dear to me. So he says, how does that Jnani come about? He says, after many, many births of searching for that happiness, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After many births, he comes and he takes my refuge. And what does he think at that time? Vasudevaha Sarvamiti. Vasudeva is everything. Krishna is everything. Vasudevaha Sarvamiti. Sa Mahatma, such a person, that Mahatma is Sudurlabhaha, is very, very rare. Such a person is very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. Right? So this is what the Bhagavad Gita says. And the 6th chapter, 7th to the 9th chapter, 7th, 8th and 9th are what we have done and we are reviewing now. Are introducing us to bhakti, and the 10th, 11th, and 12th, which we'll be starting soon, will be taking us deep into bhakti, knowing about Bhagavan's Aishwarya Rupa, his Vishwa Rupa, and then his bhakti, sweetness of his bhakti. So we will go towards that, and as we do that, we will keep talking about Bhagavatam and what the Bhagavatam is telling us. As we understand the Bhagavad Gita, it's important to also read the Bhagavatam, because the Bhagavatam gives us an insight into what the Bhagavad Gita is actually trying to tell us. Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam together make a complete whole. The Gita by itself, of course, if you are able to understand it, then it's fine. But the Bhagavatam helps us to fill in all the missing gaps in our understanding. So the Bhagavatam is considered as the natural commentary. Sri Vyasadeva wrote, before he wrote the Bhagavatam, he had written all the Shastra, put down all the Shastra, and among them, he also wrote what is called as the Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras are very, very short, you can say statements or phrases, athato brahma jigyasa, tattvamasi, and so on. So now all those sutras together, about 555 sutras are there. They are considered as, the essence of Vedanta philosophy. Sri Vyasadeva is considered as the author of Vedanta. The Bhagavatam is considered his own description of the Vedanta, means a commentary on the Vedanta sutras, the Brahma Sutras. So the Bhagavatam very nicely brings out the ultimate truth, the truth about Bhagavan, what the Bhagavad Gita, what Sri Bhagavan is telling us in the Gita is very beautifully brought out in the Bhagavatam. So going forward, there's another narrative which I wanted to conclude with from the Bhagavatam, and this is about the child. You see, unlike the people of Kali-yuga, there's this child who was also like that unfortunate 4-year-old child who got killed recently by his own mother. This is a child whose father was trying to kill him. Okay, there it was mother, but this is a father. And his father, because he hated Vishnu and this child, he found out that his own child is only talking about Vishnu, exactly the person whom he hates. He decided to kill him. And this narrative tells us how this little child, although you see, it has no strength compared to what his father has. Father has everything in his control, the entire kingdom, the universe. The devas are bowing down to him. Narada Muni says here that even I had to bow down to him. He was become so powerful. You see, to be politically correct, I had to bow down to Hiranyakashipu. Such a powerful person, Prahalad, 5-year-old Prahalad, had no fear of. Why did he have fear of him? Because he knew Vishnu. Vishnu was always in his mind. And he says that there was never a moment when he could not see Vishnu. He could see Vishnu everywhere. It's always visible to him, and he could feel the touch of Vishnu on him at every point of time. So whatever his father did to him, he had no fear about his father. He had never thought that his father was a threat to his life. He only saw his father with compassion. Unfortunately, Papa is not able to understand this very simple reality, which I can see so clearly. He saw his father like that. So even though his father tries to kill him so many times, his father is never successful, and eventually Vishnu comes and kills him, right? So the Bhagavatam is something that we should embrace. And in practice, what can we do? Sometimes we get this question, now what should I do? I hear all this, but what should I do? So one simple exercise that each one of us can do is to see how to read the Bhagavatam every day, even a small portion. 18,000 shlokas. So it'll keep us engaged for quite a long time, right? Even one lifetime may not be enough to finish it if we go deep into it. So a little bit every day, a few shlokas every day to contemplate on what it's trying to say. Why is it saying that? There's so many versions of Bhagavatam available, but we can access whichever is convenient for us. Rising early in the morning, a simple practice that each of us can try. It may not be easy to do it, but with some planning and thinking, it is possible. We can help each other. Rise early in the morning and do japa of Sri Bhagavan's names during the Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta is a period of time which falls, you see, one day is divided in, according to Indian astronomy, the Muhurta is a duration of time which is considered as 1 by 30th of the duration of one full day. One full day, by one full day, I mean the time between one sunrise and the next sunrise, okay, which would be very close to 24 hours. The time between one sunrise and the next sunrise would be very close to 24 hours, maybe 1 or 2 minutes more than 24 hours or 1 or 2 minutes less than 24 hours, depending on the time of the year. Now, if you divide that period by 30, how much do you get? What would be the duration of that? 48 minutes, exactly. It is about slightly more than 3/4 of a 2/3 of an hour, right? 2/3 of an hour. So you would get 48 minutes as one muhurta. So there are 30 muhurtas in one day, one 24-hour period. Now this 30 muhurtas are named in different ways. There's Abhijit Muhurta. Normally, a lot of marriages are considered to be in the middle of the day. Abhijit Muhurta comes somewhere in the middle, around noon time. So Brahma Muhurta comes at a time point which is, it's the second last muhurta of the night before sunrise. So if sunrise is at some time point, if you go back by 2 muhurtas, the muhurta starting at that time is called the Brahma Muhurta, and it ends 1 muhurta before sunrise. So the second last muhurta before sunrise is the Brahma Muhurta. In other words, the Brahma Muhurta starts 96 minutes before sunrise and completes 48 minutes before sunrise. So if, for example, sunrise in Jamshedpur, we are on Jamshedpur now. So if it is at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, then 6:30 minus 48 minutes, what would that be, Sarthak? 554? No, it would be a little more. 542? Yeah, 542. So Brahma Muhurta would begin at, it would end at 542. It would begin 96 minutes before. Go back one more 48 minutes. So from 6:30, go back 96 minutes, you would go to 5 a.m. and 6 minutes beyond that is 4:54. So it would begin at 4:54 and it would end at 5:42, right? 5:42. So that period of time is called Brahma Muhurta. Of course, this is only for knowledge. So I'm not saying that now you should keep a watch and then you should look like, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to start my japa before 4:54. At 4:54, I'll start doing japa, and exactly at 5:42, I'm going to stop. That's not the way it works. It's only giving an indication of what would be a good time. Obviously, if you're going to do it every day, which is what we should be doing, then we need to fix a time which is convenient for us. For example, somebody may say that 5 o'clock is a convenient time for me. Approximately in most of the year, 5 o'clock would be somewhere in the Brahma Muhurta or very close to it, right? Most of the time. So 5 o'clock is a good time for me to start my japa. And I would do japa till 5:30, half an hour every morning. Okay, whatever I can do in half an hour. So each one of us has to decide what is practically possible for us. But something is definitely practically possible, and that is something we have to make up our mind to commit to. Keep things simple and straightforward. Bhakti involves being simple. Do things in a way that doesn't involve unnecessary complexity. Don't complicate a matter which can be simplified. Simplify it as much as possible, and like they say, not any further. So keep it simple and straightforward, be practical, and live in a manner. I said this last time too. This is extremely important in bhakti, that path of bhakti means living in a manner that does not disturb others, that does not become a nuisance to others. It's the Rakshasas, the Asuras who disturb others, not the Bhaktas. The Bhaktas live in a manner that doesn't involve quarreling. It doesn't involve getting into fights with. Rather, it becomes, a Bhakta's orientation is, how can I be useful in society? How can I be someone from whom people will benefit, people will like to have? It's not that he goes around trying to put his nose into others' affairs and saying, can I help you? Can I help you? No, no, not like that. He's just there. He does his work. And if somebody comes to him for help, He says, okay, I'll do what I can to help you if I can. That's the bhakta's attitude, and he's always favorably disposed to other living beings around him. He's focused on his work, but favorably disposed to the others living around him. That is bhakti. So these are 4 simple tips for bhakti. We can contemplate on these things and see how to practice this. The most important of all is to do japa and to Bhagavatam. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is explained that even if one who doesn't have Shraddha, okay, Shraddha is considered as the first step of bhakti, but Sri Rupa Goswami, who writes the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that uh, even one without Shraddha, uh, doing japa and Bhagavatam, reading the Bhagavatam, can bring about bhakti. Means they are so powerful. The sweetness of japa and the sweetness of the Bhagavatam, the revelation of the Bhagavatam, so powerful that it can bring about bhakti even in a person without Shraddha. So that is the power. And if we can bring this into our life, a lot of clarity and happiness will result. Any questions or comments from anyone? We'll continue talking about Bhagavatam as we talk about Gita in the coming sessions as we go forward. In every session, we will talk a little bit more.
This is it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, comments, we will discuss anything that you want to ask or. Yeah, I wanted to give more time for, because I was going on talking in the earlier session. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Sarthak, yeah. I'm counting on you. My muhurta is over. Now your muhurta begins.
To my Bhagavatam time.
Sir, in the last class, we discussed that how Krodha and Kama are 2 enemies, which Sri Bhagavan says in the Gita that must be discarded. But, sir, I had a question that in the Shastras, in our Shastras, there are 4 Purusharthas which are mentioned, and one of them is Kama.
Yeah.
So, how do we decide that, okay, which Purusharth, I mean, what is Kama and what is Kama Purushartha? So would a strong Vivek be needed for it? And if yes, then how to strengthen that Vivek?
Exactly. So it is the same karma which comes in the 4 Purusharthas that is described in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-Gita as the enemy.
Purusharth is the enemy.
Purushartha is the enemy. That Purushartha called Kama is the enemy of a human being, of a living being. Because that is what is keeping the person in samsara. So why is it listed as a Purushartha there? Because it is a Purushartha. I mean, it is people's desire. What is the Purushartha there? Purushartha means what people consider as their goal, right? Now, the purpose of Samanya Dharma is given to help people satisfy their karma in a manner that they don't earn papa. They earn it in a legitimate manner. It brings legitimacy. By doing dharma, satisfy your karma. For example, let us say the karma is something, okay, let's take something easy to understand. Let's say sexual pleasure. Okay? Sexual pleasure is something that all living beings have in the samsara, right? Nobody is free from it. Now, by default, if somebody does not have knowledge of dharma, how would they try to satisfy that sexual pleasure? How do a lot of human beings try to satisfy it now? Like animals do. Animals don't have any discrimination. And today we see a lot of human beings also trying to satisfy their sexual desire, just like animals do, in the open, in the public. There's no sense of shame, right? And it's completely unregulated. Now, to satisfy the Kama Purushartha through dharma, one follows regulation. So there are a lot of regulatory principles which direct how one should go about satisfying it. The first thing is one should have a legitimate partner. One should have a partner in marriage, not just any person of the opposite gender or sometimes the same gender also. Not just any arbitrary person, but one should have a marital relationship which is legitimately accepted. So there are rules of marriage, how marriage is conducted, the different types of marriage given. All Shastra gives. This is legitimate, this is not legitimate. Now, after having done that, then even after getting married, it's not, arbitrary. There is regulation on how one should indulge in the activity and why we should indulge in it, to what extent one should indulge in it. So by following the regulation, what happens is that karma gets channelized in a proper manner. It becomes controlled. It comes under one's control. It doesn't go above one, it remains below one. That is the meaning of kama purushartha. When you do kama purushartha when you treat kama as a purushartha, you follow dharma to satisfy that thing.
So basically,
but it's an enemy.
So whenever we are trying to achieve, say, kama purushartha according to dharma,
Yeah.
so it would be the purusha is enjoying that, not the kam is overpowering the purusha. So basically,
Yeah.
it is to keep it in checks.
Keep it in check. Yes.
And sir, based on
So
our
one rule I should mention, since I talked about that topic, is that begetting a child is the only legitimate purpose for indulging in sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure for the purpose of begetting a child, not otherwise. That is what the Shastra says. Sexual pleasure only for the sake of sexual pleasure is animalistic.
Mhm.
Once we beget a child or beget as many children as we want to have, then one stops doing it.
So, based on our discussion,
Hmm.
so can we say that the other three purusharthas, that is dharma purushartha, artha purushartha, and kama purushartha, these are mainly for helping you facilitate, navigate your way in the samsara.
Yeah.
But if you really want to move away from samsara, then you will have to abandon these three purusharthas and only focus on moksha purushartha.
Yeah, exactly. So the first three are ones which keep you in samsara. Dharma means following your nitya naimittika karma, doing what you're supposed to do, your duties, by which you earn punya. If you do all your duties properly, the nitya naimittika karma properly, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and even the Avarniyas, they don't have Shastra for them, but they live according to what their instincts are, right? And so through that process, punya is accumulated and you get a better birth in the future. Artha and kama are when you are specifically pursuing something, object of pleasure, like a pleasure, sensual pleasure or wealth. Artha means like, money or possessions, material expansion. But only when you get rid of these three purusharthas or turn your attention away from them and you look for mukti, that is the fourth purushartha.
Mhm.
And that is what the Gita is trying to tell us, that reject the first three and come to the focus on mukti. And even higher than mukti is the purushartha called bhakti, which is not in that four. Bhakti or prema. Prema is panchama purushartha. That
Okay.
Bhagavatam points that out.
So,
It rejects mukti also.
My next question.
Yeah.
When we are talking about listening to Shri Bhagwan's Leelas,
Yeah.
reading Bhagavatam, so it is again we are employing our sensory, we are employing our senses and we are getting something and
Yeah.
it is satisfying us.
Yeah.
So, isn't it Kam Purushartha? But no, it will not be Kama Purushartha.
No,
it
because
would be Bhakti.
Yes, it's bhakti when we do it as anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. The mentality there is, this will be pleasing to Bhagavan. ये भगवान को अच्छा लगेगा.
Sir, अगर
मैं उनके प्रिय हूँ, वे मेरे प्रिय हैं. भगवान मेरे प्रिय हैं, मैं उनका प्रिय हूँ. ये उनको अच्छा लगता है. जैसे मैं जप कर रहा हूँ. I am doing japa. What is the motivation for doing japa for a person who is in bhakti? The motivation for doing japa is, ये भगवान को अच्छा लगता है. मैं सुबह उठा, स्नान किया, अच्छे अच्छे कपड़े पहने और उसके बाद बैठ के जप कर रहा हूँ. ये किसके लिए अच्छा लगता है? भगवान को अच्छा लगता है. भगवान को अच्छा लगने से हमको भी अच्छा लगता है.
Sir, if my mentality is that, okay, very simple example. So, if I listen to, say, kirtanas or say some bhajans, and I'm not thinking so sophisticated in such a sophisticated manner that ये भगवान को अच्छा लग रहा है. I'm simply listening to that bhajan कि मुझे भगवान का नाम सुन के अच्छा लग रहा है. और rather,
ठीक है, हाँ.
so would you also consider this
That
as
is also
or
bhakti.
Kam Purusha?
No, that is also bhakti, because it's not. You can say that it leads to that deeper form of bhakti. When you say मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है, like you go to the temple, You go to Tirupati. Tirupati laddu is so nice, right? You hanker for it. You want to get laddu. So people buy laddu in black also in Tirupati. People fall over each other, kill each other and get laddu. So मुझे अच्छा लगता है. Tirupati laddu you can't get anywhere else. You can't buy it in any shop. It's only in that place you can get it. Nobody else makes it, right? Even if they know how to make it. So even then, that is, Bhagavan gives that. He says, I will reach you through that. By tasting that laddu again and again, one develops an attachment to Bhagavan. So it opens an avenue for bhakti, where the thinking eventually evolves to a point where it says, जो भगवान को अच्छा लगता है मैं वो करूँगा. मेरे को अगर अच्छा भी नहीं लगता है तो ठीक है, भगवान को अगर अच्छा लगता है तो मैं तैयार हूँ करने के लिए, मैं उसको करना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि उनको अच्छा लगेगा. That is how prema develops when you think like that. So in the beginning, मुझे अच्छा लगता है. That takes you away from samsara. Just like a person who develops attachment to Tirupati laddu, some attachment to some other lower form of food, some more tamasic food may decrease because of that. Right? As he becomes attracted more towards prasadam, which is made very sattvic in a sattvic manner. Food which is sattvic. Prasadam is always sattvic, right? It's offered to Bhagavan. And so,
Unless Bengali.
Yeah?
Unless Bengali.
Unless Bengali means?
They-
No, when you offer to Bhagavan, no. In Bengal also, anything offered to Bhagavan is always sattvic. Anywhere. Anywhere it is like that. Nothing, it's always food without onion, garlic. It's pure sattvic, vegetarian, freshly cooked food everywhere. It's like that, right? So, so when we develop attachment to prasadam, for example, I've heard of so many people like that. The lower taste goes away. The taste in tamasic food which is, stale, food like alcohol, or even, very spicy food which is spicy, or food which is having meat and stuff like that. That decreases.
So continuing more on Kama Purushartha. So we understand that, okay, enjoying food.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Enjoying food or say even sexual pleasure, these are easily classified as Kama Purushartha.
Yeah.
But say consumption of liquor, would that even qualify as Kama Purushartha in the first place?
No.
And if no, then why not?
No, it's adharma. Because it's bad, no? Anything that is harmful to the human body, mind, etc. are not among the Purusharthas. Purushartha is about satisfying your basic desires, like the desire for sensual pleasures through all these means. But things like alcohol or intoxication through smoking and stuff like that, they will not come into any of these. They are only papa karma.
So sir, in Holi,
There's no provision in dharma for them.
So sir, in Holi, there is a very prominent culture.
Bhang. Drink bhang, yeah. That is not dharmic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even bhang is because
No. If it is mixed with charas, bhang is a form of charas, no? It's some kind of dope, isn't it?
some psychedelic.
Yeah.
So, but it is associated with Lord Shiva. I don't know. I don't know the details, but so
Tamasic people do that. Their misconceptions they bring out like that.
okay.
Shastra doesn't advocate that.
Okay.
Shastra.
Shiva is the highest.
Yes, correct. Would not do that. Yes, would not smoke charas. Yes, exactly.
So smoking and drinking both
Yeah.
are not.
See, dharma is something. By definition, what is dharma? If you go to the definition of dharma, dharanat dharmaha ityahu, dharmena vidritah prajaha, yatsat dharana sanyuktah sa dharma iti kathyate. That which is endowed with the property, जिसमें धारण की शक्ति है, जो नाश करता है वो कैसे मतलब धर्म हो सकता है? अगर भांग पियोगे तो नाश हो जाओगे, आपको नुकसान करेगा, तो कैसे धर्म हो सकता है वो?
So sir, a person sitting in Russia, say, or Siberia, and that person is drinking vodka for heating the body. So that would not be adharma. Rather, a person who is, say, sitting in India and consuming it only for enjoyment purposes, that would be adharma.
No, even in Russia, see, you may not need vodka to warm your body if there are other means of warming. So there are yogis in the Himalayas who don't drink vodka.
But so there are yogis.
Yeah, so So that is the purpose of human life, to become a yogi. Just because somebody is in Russia doesn't mean drinking vodka becomes dharma. It is still adharma only.
Okay.
He is doing adharma sitting in Russia.
Okay.
You follow?
Will
See,
the intensity of adharma be reduced? That okay, I have very limited options in Siberia.
Yes, the papa karma, of course, apportioning of papa karma, when papa is given, if a brahmana who is knowledgeable does that, knowing that it is papa does that, then the papa to him is much more. But a person who doesn't know, ajnani, person who is completely in ajnana, papi does that, then the papa is considered to be less. But the papa is still papa only. It is not considered dharma at all.
But if a learned person is in those circumstances,
Yeah.
for example, it's same in Siberia.
Only in an emergency. For example, in the case of somebody is in an emergency situation, is suddenly put in a situation without any planning. Let's say he's traveling and because there's some accident or something and he ends up in a situation like that. Then for immediate survival, if somebody does something like that, then probably you can say there is no pap in that. But not as a lifestyle. If somebody adopts that as a life and gives an excuse that now that I am in Russia, I have to do this. So when we talk about dharma, sometimes you will find in society people saying that, no, I have to socialize with people and everybody drinks. So in society, everybody is drinking. So because I have to socialize, I have to do it. There is no way out. I've seen so many people giving this kind of reason, which I find unacceptable. Because I myself don't do it. I socialize with everybody. When I say socialize, I don't socialize like the way they socialize, but I mix with it. I interact with everybody. Right? And so many others like me also do. I'm not unique in this. There's so many people who are able to mix with others, but they stay away from alcohol. They stay away from non-vegetarian food. They stay away from even fish, eggs. They're able to do it. It's not that they have become unsocial.
So it would be all right if their Vishishta Dharma forces them to do it. So, for example, if a person joins Indian Foreign Services and as a diplomat, you will have to attend all those parties. And if
you have to
not...
attend the party. You see, as a diplomat, you have to attend the party, but it's not mandatory that you must eat and drink what they give you.
But again, they pick up small...
Prime Minister of Britain, Rishi Sunak, is a vegetarian. Isn't it?
He can afford it because he's a prime minister at a junior level.
So nothing, nobody has to do anything. It is their choice. It is only an excuse. Because you want to do it, you give an excuse that I have to do it. It is cheating yourself and maybe cheating others also. Nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to.
Yes, in this context.
You follow?
Yes.
It is just so even if you go to a party in the West, others may be eating meat, but if you go politely and say, can you give me some vegetarian food? They will happily give you. They will appreciate it, that you have a preference, you know what you're eating.
Krishna makes arrangements, so it your mind to follow these four principles. Firstly, Krishna is going to make the arrangement that my bhakta is not going to suffer. Krishna is always there for his bhakta, always. And may I...
Please, Apeksha is speaking. Can the others, we have been, Sarthak and I have been having a private conversation here. Those who are online, could you hear what we were talking? Puneet, was Sarthak's voice audible to you?
Yes, audible, sir.
Audible. Okay. Now Apeksha is speaking. Can you hear what she is saying? Can you speak a
Yes,
little
sir.
louder, Apeksha?
Yes, sir. She's audible.
Yeah. Please. Yeah. You can come closer if you wish. Yeah. Please.
Surrenders, the Lord reciprocates. So once a devotee has made his mind that I'm not going to consume all this, no matter which situation I'm put in, the Lord is going to make arrangements. And the second thing I wanted to say is once we develop in bhakti, so Gyan Karmadi Anavritam, we would not like to continue such occupations or not like to be indulged in such knowledge that takes us away from bhakti. So being steady on the path of bhakti becomes the primary goal of life.
Yes.
So if I'm getting a job or if I am asked to be in a role that becomes an obstacle to performing my devotional service, then pure bhakta is not going to is going to reject those opportunities. those
Yeah.
jobs.
So Apeksha is saying that these things come from within as we commit ourselves to a particular path, like the path of Bhakti Yoga. Then Sri Bhagavan himself guides us from within as to how to handle different situations so that we don't have to break our commitments. We can upkeep our commitments and continue to pursue the path that we have taken up, steadily, and make it stronger and stronger. So the cheating mentality has to go. You see, there are 4 doshas. I was explaining to Sarthak only some time back. The 4 doshas that Jiva Goswami points out, 4 defects in all of us. So one is, what are the 4, Sarthak, do you recollect? The first is
Senses are imperfect.
Karuna Patava. That's called Karuna Patava. Then Vipralipsa. It's called Vipralipsa, or the tendency to cheat. Then Brahma means the fact that we are confused. We are not, we are subject to confusion. We mistake the right thing for the wrong thing and the wrong thing for the right thing. Right? You may see a snake. This example that Jiva Goswami gives. You see a rope and you think it's a snake, or sometimes you see a snake, you may think it's a rope. So you see the opposite. So Brahma Pramada. The first is called Brahma Pramada, Vipralipsa, and Karanapata. 4 things he lists. When he talks about Pramanas in Pramana Shastra, in the Tattva Sandarbha, he explains this. Brahma means the tendency to mistake the right thing for the wrong thing and the lack of discrimination, the presence of confusion, ambiguity, etc. All of us are subject to that. The second is Pramada. Pramada means inadvertence, carelessness, negligence, the tendency to not do things in the perfect way, the proper way. Okay, be negligent. This tendency is there in us. The third is Vipralipsa. Vipralipsa means the cheating mentality, the tendency to cheat and excuse ourselves for our own cheating. So like you said, this example which we were discussing about, although I'm on this path, but because I have a tendency that I want to enjoy something. I want to excuse myself.
No, sir, my question was not regarding the intention, but not about the intention. So one purposefully wants to abstain from all of this, but is put in some conditions wherein, okay, if you do not have that drink, it would appear to be rude on the table, and the host would not like it. And then they'd say that, okay, the Indian mission team does not reciprocate what we are offering to them. And then, I mean, it is not only you who is dealing with the other person, it's you are representing the nation, you are a state guest.
Yeah, but this example today is not appropriate. I don't know if it ever was appropriate in the past also, but it's not appropriate at all, because nowhere will some host force you to drink alcohol or expect you to drink alcohol as a reciprocation. Because people are educated enough to know that not everybody drinks alcohol. Even in the West, there are many people who don't drink alcohol, who are teetotalers. And even in the West, there are many people who are vegetarians. There are vegans, huge vegan movements going on. So if an Indian contingent, somebody in the Indian contingent says that I don't take alcohol, it won't look absurd at all. So the Indian who may have a desire to drink alcohol may justify to others.
That is something different.
That vipralipsa is there. That's a tendency to cheat. And I have heard many people doing that, giving an excuse that I was forced to do this because I was in the party. Which means is kapola kalpitam. In his mind, he thought that they will think like that. Or he didn't think, but he's giving you that excuse because he wants to show his face as clean.
I have a very strong reference. I mean, you can do, when Srila Prabhupada, he went to America, by ship. At that point of time, if you see American young youth, they were all kind of hooligans, there was a culture of hooliganism there. And he had so much of sattvika inside him, like Apeksha said, when he surrendered to Krishna, Krishna makes ways. People who were eating non-veg, they left non-veg and they started having sattvic food and prasadam with him. So in fact, I would say I would rather go the opposite way and tell that if there is a sattvic person in Indian contingent, he might actually convince everybody else, to follow the diet of what
the sattva power should be very strong.
So much that it will overturn. Instead of them telling us drink, he will tell you drink milk.
Yeah.
it will become so strong.
Use the opportunity to glorify Krishna.
Yeah. At any point of time, we have to use the opportunity to glorify Krishna. Similarly, it was with Ramakrishna ji when he was at his last stage, he had throat cancer, and doctor, told me, you could have chicken soup, but he denied it. And similarly, Mahatma Gandhi was also there after he was suffering, recovering from tuberculosis. These examples.
Those online, do you have any questions?
Hmm.
Puneet,
No, sir.
Subhashish, Anjana, Himanshu.
Sir, after the online ones I've done, I have one more question.
Sure. Sure, Sarthak, yeah. As they are thinking, you can ask your next one.
Hari Om, I wanted to just add to one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Regarding Sarthak's question that if a foreign diplomat is forced to, due to the circumstances, is forced to drink alcohol, then what? So assuming that the foreign diplomat is aware that drinking alcohol is bad, it is adharmic, the Manusmriti has a solution to it. So if a Brahmana, in the Manusmriti, I remember reading that if a Brahmana, inadvertently he consumes alcohol, then the prayashchitta for that would be drinking hot ghee. And if the Brahmana dies, or the suffering that he undergoes by consumption of hot ghee is the prayashchitta. So if the foreign diplomat is a totally dharmic person and he has consumed alcohol, he should go home and drink hot ghee and then still survive it. So that's one solution that Manusmriti offers.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Your questions are interesting, Sarthak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, what is your next question, Sarthak?
Sir, can I ask
Yeah,
something?
Puneet,
Sir,
please.
I have adding this to discussion. I completely agree with you, and I follow the same principle as you do and same terminology. But there is one event happened with my friend. He's into army. He was also Brahmin. He never ate this liquor and all non-veg part. When he has to go to undergo that commando training, there they have to survive for 20 days in a jungle. They give just one glass, one bottle of a mineral water. That's it. They have to live with them, and they have been trained there to find snake and cut them and eat them. So that is a process for the in relating to this society, how they are doing a job for a country. These guys, these army people. Is it now? क्या उसको बोल सकते हैं हम कि उसने धर्म भ्रष्ट हुआ उनका in this case?
Yeah, that occupation is like that. See, उनको भी वो भी मतलब धर्म के दृष्टि से अलग-अलग जो occupations हैं, it is not, you see, under any circumstances, dharma doesn't allow killing animals for food or for sustenance. Okay, maybe in an extreme case where once, you out of somebody in an extreme situation when he has to survive, he may have killed something and eaten it. But it's not as a lifestyle. It is not that by training, one has to learn to live like that as a lifestyle. Only in an extreme situation, if somebody does that, maybe it can be excused.
Same, sir.
As not seen as adharma, but otherwise, as a lifestyle, if it is done, and you say that, I have to survive like that, then you have to figure out, you have to quickly solve it and come out of that situation and figure out how to survive without that.
And so there were some examples from Mahabharata also where Duryodhana and Karna and all the Kshatriyas used to eat meat and for the good build up for a war and for and all these things. And same goes in some earlier in the Sikhism we say they practice earlier non-vegetarian or vegetarians, but Guru Gobind Singh told the people to eat the meat because they have to have a good build up to fight against the Mughals. So is it right or wrong in this case? In for the Kshatriyas or the fighter people or who has to maintain their good physique for war?
Okay. I don't know about Duryodhana eating meat. I don't know if it is there in the Mahabharata. I'll confirm to you. Jayashree will also give us some light on that because she has read the Mahabharata, but I can also check and tell you. I don't think that meat is required to have a very muscular body. I want you to watch a movie called The Game Changers. It's on Netflix. Have you heard of that movie?
Yes, sir.
It's a famous movie. It's a
Yes.
documentary called Game Changers.
Hmm.
It's on the vegan movement, and it's made by a boxing professional in the UK who's a boxer, very muscular person who's a vegan. And he did a very elaborate study and made a film based on that. And he establishes in that movie how non-vegetarian food, including eggs, is not required for building muscle or muscular strength. He gives numerous examples in that. We also see numerous sportsmen like Virat Kohli in India, Djokovic, the tennis professional Djokovic, Virat Kohli, so many others also who are either 100% vegetarians or athletes who are predominantly vegetarians. They may eat, even if they eat meat, it's very small amount of their diet. The best athletes are people who are vegetarians. So sports also requires more vegetarianism than non-vegetarianism. So non-vegetarian food, meat is not required for building muscle. It's not true at all that it's required. It's a misconception. Eggs also are not required. In fact, sometime back I was watching an interview with YouTube interview with one of our Indian models. I think his name is John Abraham. Yeah, there's a model called John Abraham, no? So in that interview, if I recollect, this was several months ago, but I recollect him saying something like he used to eat eggs before and he had several issues. Then he says, I gave up eating non-veg completely, including eggs, became a complete vegan. And he says, after that, my health improved and everything improved in my body. He glorifies, he praises being a vegetarian in that interview. Today, there is so much information available on the internet about how meat is not required for building the body and being healthy. Eggs also are not required.
But those who want to have defined excuse,
Yeah, it's a misconception because out of desire to taste meat, people give that reason because they have a desire to taste meat. They're not able to give up that desire. So they say that for the sake of the body, for the sake of my health, I have to take eggs, I have to take meat, etc. But there is so much scientific evidence that vegetarian food is definitely more healthy than non-vegetarian food. There is so much evidence. I can show you and I can also discuss more with you on this. I also want you to visit the website of a particular organization called the Sattvic Movement. That just came to my mind when we were talking about health.
Okay.
They talk about how, restricting your diet to vegetables and fruits predominantly, and a little bit of grains also.
Mhm.
You can remove all diseases, become completely disease-free, filled with energy, concentration, etc. It's called the Sattvic movement. So our dharma, which is oriented towards improving, see, the whole purpose of dharma is to elevate the human being, right? To take him from the lower gunas like rajoguna, tamoguna into sattva guna. The whole purpose of dharma is to make people more sattvic. And therefore, even in Kshatriya dharma, there is no provision for eating meat.
Mhm.
I don't know about Guru Gobind Singh telling
Okay.
his followers to eat meat. I don't know, and I don't know why he did that, if he did that.
Mm.
I'm talking on the basis of what I understand dharma to be.
Oh.
Dharma doesn't have a provision to eat meat.
No. That's what I'm asking. So I'm to vegetarian, but it will be good to know to promote this. It is better
Yeah.
than the for the even for the bodybuilding and all these stuffs.
Yeah, yeah. If you have access to Netflix, please watch Game Changers, the movie
Sure.
Game Changers.
Sure.
It's very well made movie with a lot of scientific detail, a lot of scientific research has gone into it.
Mhm. Okay.
I think I'll just add to what you have said. This in the Mahabharata, I mean, I have often heard people saying that Pandavas used to eat mamsa, and here and there it is mentioned. So anyway, I haven't come across very directly that Pandavas consumed meat this way or that way, but there is a whole chapter dedicated to ahimsa, and consumption of mamsa and madira is entirely condemned and in a very strong manner. So when there is a whole chapter given only for living, consuming vegetarian food and living in a very dharmic way, that shows that Mahabharata stands for this dharmic way of living. So it was consumption of meat was not it was not promoted in society. Although people used to do, it's not that everybody was a vegetarian and everybody was sattvic or things like that. There were people who were consuming, but they were always made aware of the consequences. Like the Manusmriti also talks about the bad consequences of eating meat. And it also, it has 3 chapters dedicated to what are the consequences of eating meat. What are the papa, what can happen to the jivatma? So after reading those 3, if a person continues to consume meat, then it is that person's choice, Yeah, that means he will face those consequences later, maybe this life or next life or whatever. So, and regarding that army man's example that Puneet gave, that army man, whoever it is, I don't know who it is, maybe your friend, but if the army man's conscience is entirely towards vegetarianism and bhakti and dharma, then it will be very difficult for him to, go through that kind of training. It will be very, very tough for him. So he has to choose, at some point he has to choose what is right for him and what is right for, his activities. So you can't generalize things and tell and give. And Guru Govind Singh, if he has asked his disciples to eat meat, it is not like a blanket this one opinion, like everybody should consume meat so that you become strong. He might have told in a particular context so that he wanted quick results. No, he had to face invasion in hordes and hordes of Mughals invading the land. So he had to be quick with what he's doing. So he must have told for a particular period of time. It was not like he's authorizing all the Sikhs to eat meat whenever they want.
No, I think,
So,
Jayashree, you should not venture into that area, because I don't know
yeah.
if you have read about Guru Gobind Singh and know about why he said, or whether he said
Yeah, no,
anything
what I'm saying
regarding
is we have to read that in that context and then understand.
Yeah, so I don't think we should even talk about it. I think
Okay.
we should suffice ourselves to say that Dharma doesn't allow, Ayurveda doesn't allow. Ayurveda, for example, is a representative of our thinking about food. The Indian Samskriti is thinking about food, right? Ayurveda, I know, doesn't allow, it doesn't promote meat eating. In fact, it has a chikits for those who eat meat. People who develop disease because of meat eating, there are some medicines made for that. But it doesn't promote meat eating. It doesn't advocate that one should eat meat for anything.
Yes, yes.
So since
That I know for sure. I've spoken to Ayurvedic experts also on this, who have
Thanks,
studied
madam,
Ayurveda in an academic manner.
Thanks, madam, for clarifying. I was just giving instances from Duryodhana point of view. I think that is why they have been shown that he has a tamasic pravritti is arisen there.
Because he ate meat, Duryodhana ate meat. I don't know if that is true. Jayashree, you may just check up and tell us whether
Okay.
it is
Okay.
mentioned
I'll
anywhere that
go
he
through.
ate meat, and because of that he got tamasic
Okay.
pravritti.
Sure.
So since we're talking meat eating only,
Yeah.
so my initial question was different, but in our last class, when we were talking about Ambarisha's Yajna and the story of Sunakshepa, so you talked about there being a Yajna Pashu, which happened to be a horse.
Yeah.
And it had to be sacrificed,
Yeah.
whose meat had to be served.
Hmm.
So again, in
That is not a lifestyle. Sacrificing yajna pashu and eating its meat, even if it is done in an Ashwamedha yajna, it is not a lifestyle. Means it is not like every day you should do it. It is not our diet. As part of the yajna, I don't know. It's not clear. I have not read the detail. What I only know is that pashu is sacrificed in the yajna. That pashu is killed in the yajna after going through the different mantras and so on, and the pashu gets mukti, or it goes to Swargaloka. It gets punya for doing that. The pashu is promoted because it's part of a dharmic routine, right? So anybody involved in a dharmic routine always gets elevation, always gets promotion, right? So the pashu gets benefited from that. Now, whether the people here who have killed the pashu, they are consuming its meat as a food item, that I have not read anywhere. Please check up. I don't think it is considered to be like a, the pashu's food is taken and given to everybody as prasadam and eaten like that. No, I don't think so. Even if somebody has to put it in their mouth, maybe only ceremonially, but not as a food item. The food item will be the yajna havish, what is called the havishanna, the prasadam which comes from the yajna, or the yajna shishta. It's called the yajna shishta. Means food which is offered in the yajna to the deities, to the Agni, and then that is consumed as prasadam. That would be consisting of all sattvic items, not meat.
Right.
Even if the yajna pashu is sacrificed there in the process.
So should I ask my second question now? Or?
So we will take more questions as we walk along. Yeah, we're already towards the end. Yeah. So we will also meet. We don't have to ask all questions only in the class. Sometime in the middle of the week, when both of us are free, we can meet and discuss more about this. Okay, shall we close those online? We can take more questions in between also, otherwise also. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Brahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padagum Sada Pashyanti Surayah Divi Vachakshuratatam Tadvipraso Vipanyavo Jagruvagum Sassamindhate Vishnoryat Paramam Padam Padya Aptya Anantarayaya Sarvastamotiratra Uttama Mahad-bhavati Sarvasyaptyai Sarvasya Jityai Sarvameva Tena Apnoti Sarvam Jayati. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dhanyavada. Puran Vilam.